A very warm welcome and good evening to one and all here. Before we get the show on the road, on behalf of IHM Bangalore, I'd like to wish everybody here a very happy International Chef's Day, the brainchild of Dr. Liam Gallagher. I think it is celebrated across the world today. Wax and IFCA are doing their bit. So we at IHM Bangalore are also trying to do our bit today. Well, with that said, once again, I would like to welcome all our participants, all our guests from across various industries, IHMs, and of course, our esteemed panelists. We have a galaxy of superstars with people from the Oberois, ITC groups, entrepreneurs, and whatnot. A few weeks ago, when we had a look at the calendar in the 20th of October said International Chef's Day, we thought, right, we should do something big. And all we needed to do was look at our list of alumni, and there we had it. So, and all we needed to do was just one call. Everybody just said yes. And that's the kind of support we've had from the industry across these 51 years of our college. Anyway, now I would like to hand it over to Chef Krishnendu Mukherjee to formally welcome all the panelists, and Vasundhara ma'am will get started with the panel discussion later on. Over to you, Chef Krishnendu.
Chef, please unmute.
Yes. Hi, good evening. That's the first thing I asked. Am I audible? Okay. So, yes, a very good evening to all of you, and wishing all those who are present in this panel discussion today a happy International Chef Day. And on behalf of IHM Bangalore, on behalf of all my students, on behalf of my principal, Sri Sanjay Srivatji, all my faculty, a warm welcome to all the panel members present here. Starting with Chef Manisha Bhasin, who is corporate ITC Hotels. Welcome, Chef.
Thank you.
Yes, chefs.
Yeah.
Yes, welcome, Chef Manisha. And Chef Manisha is alumni of IHM Bangalore, 1987 pass out.
Wow.
And
well, Saby.
No, it was IHM Bangalore. That's wow.
Okay, good.
And
yes.
he's doing such amazing things. Wow.
And coming to the next, Chef Parvinder Singh Bali, and yes, he's alumni of IHM Kolkata, and we shared the same hostel and the same institute almost at the same time. So welcome, Chef Bali, and Chef Bali is the head of the learning and development at OCLD. So welcome, Chef.
Thank you.
Okay, and then we have Chef Rohit Gambhir. Hi, Chef.
Hi.
A warm welcome. Right, so Chef Rohit again is an alumni of IHM Bangalore, 1993 batch, and he had been to the prestigious OCLD and was with the Oberoi group and for quite some time. And Chef is again from my college. Now my college is IHM Bangalore. But still, yes, Chef Bali, I am still, दिल से तो IHM कोलकाता हूँ. But abhi professionally, yes, I am from IHM Bangalore. And coming to Chef Amit Wadhawan. Welcome, Chef.
Welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, Chef Amit Wadhawan is alumni again of IHM Bangalore. He passed out in the year 1994. Also went to OCLD, worked there close for 15 years, and he spent some time in the Marriott in Ireland. And now he is in his own entrepreneurship, on his own producing high quality preserves called Anya.
Understood.
Welcome, Chef.
Thank you very much.
And of course, last but not the least, we have Chef Sabyasachi Gorai, Chef Saby, as he is known as. And yes, Chef Saby is from IHM Bhubaneswar pass out. Chef, year mention karu kya?
Chef, Calcutta.
Oh, Bhubaneswar. Oh my God, who is this? Yes, I will catch hold of my students who gave me this.
There is a bit of a catch there. I started in Bhubaneswar. I'm a transfer candidate to Calcutta and passed out from Cal.
All right. So, yeah. So I'm not mentioning the year of passing.
You don't have to. He's ageless.
Thank you, sir. Very kind.
And of course, he has been a very successful entrepreneur, and he has linked with many brands, and he's also the president of the Young Chefs Association under IFCA. So welcoming all of you, all the chefs here on board, and also welcoming Vasundhara Dharmaraj ma'am from IHM Bangalore, who will be taking us through along with Chinmaya. So I hand it over to Vasundhara ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening. And
Good evening.
Very
it's
good
so
evening.
nice to see this galaxy in front over here. And we were just saying, I think it's been ages, almost an alumni meet of IHMs, right? So it's like we are from IHM, y'all are from IHM, so yay for IHMs. And today, of course, we are in the panel to have a discussion on healthy and sustainable foods in future. Well, let's not look about future, let's look about it today and see how we are actually going to be able to take these forward in the discussion. Now, actually, before I start, I want a small little cameo from each of you on how your journey has been. Maybe a quick 2 second or 2 minute recap of what you have been from the time you left college till today. Can we start with, of course, Manisha? Ladies first.
Okay, I was just thinking what to say. This morning I was at on a panel with Manipal Vaksha College. They were also celebrating Chefs International Day. So I was just sharing with them that, you know, when I did my hotel management from IHM Bangalore, every year, that time I think it used to be every year one had to go through industrial training for 2 months, unlike 6 months, which happened much later. Every year I would do my industrial training at the ITC Moria. And then I joined the same hotel as a management trainee and have been with them ever since. So I guess it was my destiny, it was my karma that made me stay there for the longest time. But very interesting journey, I think, thanks to IHM Bangalore, which laid the foundation for what most of us are today. A lot of impetus was given that time, and those days I think I'm sure still are, we were the best in food production, and we were the first ones to host a chef's competition. It was way back in 1986, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
So that kind of laid foundation for, I think, student chefs fraternity as well, for students to get encouraged and motivated. And that's how the journey began. Thank you.
Thank you, Manisha. That was so soft and sweet. And can I ask Chef Bali to...
Well, I graduated from IHM Kolkata. Then I joined OCLD. So both Chef Rohit Gambhir and myself have read from the same books, stayed in the same hostel. So he's not Gambhir at all. Only his name is Gambhir. And post that, I've been working with Oberoi Hotels. I just left for 2 years to open ITC Shonar Bangla, and I had an incredible experience. And then I was back at OCLD, and that's where I have been. Thank you.
Lovely, Chef. That is so nice. Now, shall I ask Rohit? I know Chef Bali's almost introduced you, but yes.
And the rest of it actually Chef Manisha did. So if you take away what Chef
No,
Manisha
you
said,
are on the spotlight now.
no, but my journey has been quite similar. I think we chefs have some sort of a consistency, not only in our food, but even in our careers. So like Chef Manisha, I passed out in 93 from IHM Bangalore. I went for my industrial training, or came for my industrial training, to the Oberoi, New Delhi. And that's the hotel that I am the executive chef of. So pretty similar journey, like Chef Manisha, and quite a bit of consistency, therefore, in how we work. Other than that, yeah, so I passed out in 93 from IHM, joined OCLD was there till 95 with Chef Bali. Thereafter, I went to Oberoi Hotels in Bombay, worked there for about 11 years between the twin hotels in South Bombay. I moved to Egypt that was my first executive chef posting of an international hotel. So I was in Egypt for about 3.5, 4 years. I came back. I opened Trident Bandrakulla. It's a 402-room large hotel in Mumbai. Ran that for another 3-4 years as the executive chef, and then moved to the Oberoi, New Delhi. And yeah, here I am. Look forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Rohit. That was so nice to hear. Chef Saby.
Hi, good
You have a
evening.
few words.
Wishing everyone a very happy International Chef's Day. I hope you can all hear me.
Yes, we can.
Fantastic. Uh, I, I can't say consistent, rather, I have to say the other part of consistent, which is inconsistent. I wanted to always be a surfer. I think that's what my chef's career did to me. It took me to extreme highs and then it took me to extreme lows, but I enjoyed both of it because I spent both the time in the kitchen. And I think the chef journey taught me quite a bit. IHM Calcutta pass out, worked in hotels, started off with Accor, then Mahindra Holidays and Resorts in projects, and then in various restaurants across the country. Did some international stints, went back to study culinary and patisserie all over again to France and US while all this was happening, and multiple restaurants across the country. So from banquets to fine restaurants, fine dining restaurants, and then about last 8-10 years has been in my own entrepreneurial journey. So hence I said, it is anything but consistent, but I've absolutely had a fantastic ride. Like I said, when you are on high sea and you're surfing, my career has given me that kind of a high. And even on the low, when you're surfing on the low, it's still a fantastic, high and energy that you feel. So that's been my career, and I would welcome every other single young aspiring person listening to this to become a chef, to enjoy this whole ride, because I don't think any other profession in this universe can give you a joyride like a chef's profession does. Thank you.
Sabi, that was so exciting. And a joyride, I'm sure, is what all our students are. Incidentally, I would like to tell you all, we also have our freshers. They have just joined us and they will also be part of the participants in this meeting. So listening to you all is going to really, really make them want to be chefs and nothing else. Now, Amit, can we have a few words from you?
Hi, hi. I wish you a very happy Chefs International Day. I hope you guys can hear me, all of you.
Yes. Yes.
All right. So, such a pleasure to be at this platform. And thank you very much, Vasundhara ma'am, for inviting me. Rohit, Chef Bali, Saby, I know briefly, but of course, um, Chef Madhu, under whom I trained. I don't know if she remembers. I did my industrial training at Maurice Sheraton. So that's how I know. So we had a little connect over there. So again, like Rohit and Bali, I started my career from, like Rohit, I started my career from IHM Bangalore, passed out in 94. Was lucky I was Oberoi school, IHM, OSHM, and then it became OCLD, the same year when it was a part of the transition. And it has been a joyride, as Sabi puts rightly, highs and lows. But I believe in sticking around in the same organization, and it took me places. So my first posting was Oberoi Grand Calcutta, and then I came to Oberoi New Delhi, where I was in charge of La Rochelle restaurant. And then at that stage, I felt that I need to travel, I need to explore. And I got an opportunity to work in Ireland. I opened a few restaurants, so worked there for nearly 5 years, and then also I moved with Marriott International, where I worked for 2.5 years between India and then Ishta. Hyderabad happened, then came back to Oberoi Hotels 2010, and I left Oberoi Hotels just a couple of months back, and that's when I took my entrepreneurship journey. So I guess I can learn a lot from Saby. He's been doing that for many years, but it's just been a humble beginning during COVID when things were going down. So I thought, let me launch my own brand and do something exciting. It's very close to today's topic, sustainable food. So that's what, my heart lies, what I'm doing. So great to be in this panel for discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Amit. I must say, I'm sure that the first things that you learned in your IHMs, in all our IHMs, is one thing where the chefs are taught sauces and consistency. I can see it. I think all the chefs over here have been so consistently excelling in everything that they have undertaken. It's just amazing. And it's so lovely to have, so much of experience from the kitchen. It's like, I don't know, it's like a huge Mount Everest of experience over here in front of us. And now let us just delve into this huge experience that is available, and we shall kickstart the panel discussion. Actually, I would first and foremost, instead of me being the person to ask questions or anything, if you all are okay with it, I would like to have a little less formal kind of a discussion. Okay, so the discussion is open to all of us in the panel, and we are, of course, I will definitely push the panel discussion on, but I would like to ask Chef Manisha. Chef Manisha, when we are looking at healthy, sustainable foods, we always think of many things. Today, one thing that we see is maybe some organic food, maybe some thing that has been untouched by any pesticide, anything that will help the organic farming, will help therefore in ensuring that the earth also sustains, as well as the markets, as well as the farmer, obviously. So when we are looking at something of that kind of a nature, Chef Manisha, what do you think will our hotels actually be able to evolve in order to see that this continues? Because today, all of us are looking at something that is going to be highly, what shall I say, healthy as well. Because we all are looking at one thing, immunity boosters that keeps flashing in everything that we are thinking about. So do you think the hotels, which all of us are from, would be able to take a lead? And if so, what would be your views on that kind of role for the hotels? So Chef Manisha, maybe hear you first, please.
Sure. It's a very interesting topic, and there's a lot to say. I'm sure all of us have a lot to say here. It just takes me back to many years ago when first time we heard of the word organic. This was, I would say, maybe in the early or maybe late 90s is something. This started picking up momentum, and that's when I think hotels started adapting to it. It's come a long way today. It's no longer, I don't think it needs a push anymore from the hotel's point of view. A lot of people are already aware of it, that what is organic, what is good for them, what is zero pesticide, not zero fertilizer. There's a difference between fertilizer and pesticide. So what is zero pesticide is very important. What is fresh, what has zero carbon footprint. So these are all no longer buzzwords. This is something that people have adapted their lifestyle to. Today, if you open an Instagram post, without taking any names of any brands, there are people who are doing organic ghee. There are people who are getting into these gir cows and making ghee out of it. The milk with A2 benefits, the local produce, which is gaining so much of momentum. And then it is not the 5-star which is propagating it. Yes, we started with it. A lot of growers have come forward. A lot of good work is being done, but there's a lot to do as well. Coming back to the hotel, what ITC started doing almost a decade back, we started encouraging these local farmers. We started adding these dishes to our menu. Like I'm sure everybody knows that we are very India proud chain. So we have our brand restaurants which are pegged on Indian cuisine, like Bukhara and Dampuk. We propagate responsible luxury. So when we say responsible luxury, we make sure that what we bring to the table from food perspective is minimal pesticide. We try to be as close to organic as possible, absolutely fresh. We have a program called Still Made here. So there are multiple things that keep happening, not only in ITC, I'm sure in the other chains as well. So this is what hotels are doing. Hotels definitely built an awareness, but today consumer definitely is far more aware. You go to any mall, you go to any food stores, you see a separate section which has organic, which was not there even, I go far, not even 3 years ago, it wasn't there. So definitely the consumer is very much aware now. Consumer knows what he wants to have. So there's a bridge. Hotel has built that bridge between the consumer and the grower, and that's helped us in propagating and encouraging this to a large extent.
That is definitely something that the hotels have pioneered, and they have actually, made a number of things which were slightly, what shall I say, in the off the beaten track.
We demystified it. Let me put it that way. We demystified it. We put it on a buffet, and people understood that this is what it means and this is what it is. It is no longer theory; it's practical. So, I'm sure every other hotel chain does the local food. There's definitely a lot of awareness. There's a lot of India proud generation which we have today. There is, I remember when we had done hotel management, everybody wanted to excel in mostly Western food. uh, Today you ask the students, they are very, very India proud, they want to become Indian chefs. So it's so heartening to see that, because we are very proud of our roots today. We are very proud of where we come from, the regional offering that we have. Like I said, it's a very extensive topic. There's no end to me talking on this. So let's move on to other panelists.
Manisha, I'm sure all of us have so many things to say, and I'm really proud of the fact that it is like our Prime Minister says, vocal for local.
Absolutely, absolutely, and made in India.
And made in India, of course. I mean, that goes without any say, I guess. Now, actually, having said that, all right, we've looked at perhaps a viewpoint that corporate hotels would be looking at. Chef Saby, what would you think in terms of actually when you're looking at procurements and other things? How do you think that sustainability is possibly to be enhanced, given the fact that the market is not something that every organic farmer is possibly coming to? How do we make this marketplace a more organic version of what we have today? Is it possible? Do you think that there is something that we as chefs can possibly boost in order that the marketplace, which we all go to on a daily basis for all our sabzi and various other things, can that be made a little more organic by making procurement level of, what shall I say, popularizing the organic movement? What do you think? Chef Saby is on a call, so we will possibly give him a little time. Chef Saby?
Yes, ma'am. Just quickly repeat me, because somewhere I lost a bit of mute, unmute. Can you just quickly tell me what was you mentioned something about procuring the correct produce and provenance of the ingredients?
Yes, as an entrepreneur, as we've heard that, we are hearing, we will be hearing from the other corporate chefs, but as an entrepreneur, how do you think that the procurement can be made more organic? Marketplace becomes more organic, so that is available to everybody, not just, niche.
So, in very rightly, as Chef Manisha pointed out, that you need to connect with the producers, which is your farmers, because for the longest time we've noticed there is always a middleman and people involved. There's a large chain, so we never knew where it was coming from. Even if you wanted to know, you were registered. In a way, I think as an entrepreneur, it is slightly easier for me than coming from a large structured hotel or format like that. I can actually go into a village, look for a product or a produce, meet the farmer face to face and say, hey, you know what, I like this, and next month later when this movie comes out, I will come and pick up, keep 100 kilos for me. I've done that when I work in Bangalore with all my supplies from Coorg and Madikeri and Chikmagalur and all these areas. I've done that when I worked in Pune. I've done that when I worked in Chennai with people in Uti. I've done it in Delhi. I've done it with people in the Northeast. So I think it's purely about going and connecting. And also as a small-time entrepreneur, my requirements are also small. I don't have to have a structured menu in every restaurant. I could change whenever I like. So for me, I think it's far more easier, and hence from early 2000, I've been able to use at ease, create a contract farming in Northeast and pick up and grow ingredients that I needed. Also, I could price my food the way I wanted to. I think that there is also a bit of a disconnect, because if you put so much effort and energy to create something, there is always a cost involved in everything. We always feel it could be negotiated. In India has always been looked upon as a commodity that should come cheap. For whatever reason, we always thought it should come cheap. I don't know why we always thought about it. And I'm not saying it has to be expensive, but it has to come in its true price, because the farmer who's growing it should get a price for it. Middlemen should be avoided. Chefs should be able to use it and access it at liberty and create a story on their plate or on their restaurant menu, like Chef Manisha pointed out. Or at the same time, the end user, which is your guest, have the liberty to choose and eat seasonally what they like to eat. And also in the post-COVID era, or in the COVID era, as we see, that today homes have become very conscious. It's not that they haven't, but of late, like you mentioned with the immunity boosting story, everybody has got it in their mind that it is better to invest in your own health and immunity then in car or watches or jewelries and properties. So we're now putting more effort and energy to invest into ourselves, which means finding raw materials and ingredients that we cook with, where they're coming from, are they pesticide free, are they GMO or no GMO, do they have some modification in them, what is the provenance, are they seasonal, do they come from a cold store, all of those factors today we have started asking. And organic is a much down the line story in that whole chain event. Somewhere there is a thing organic. So at one point we were only concerned about whether it is organic. Today we are concerned about various, a diaspora of things that we are concerned about, but eventually it all leads to something that is going within inside the body and should give us health and immunity. And hence I think as every human being under the sun, under the influence of Mother Nature, has the right to know where their food is coming from, because that is directly proportional to what we are going to be today and in the future.
That is so nice to hear. So there is definitely, like we started off, we said that we are demystifying this whole, practice of bringing the local produce onto the table. And also to see that, the local produce is something that is going to definitely sustain other things. And again, can we go back to Chef Rohit and ask, again, as hotels, we have looked at Chef Manisha, we have looked at Chef Saby as an entrepreneur, and also something that we have constantly seen. Now, when we are looking at health and sustainability, tell me, the menus in the hotels, we all know that 5-star menus are of a particular nature. Yes, we've learned it. And as Chef Manisha pointed out, yes, we all went through that westernized set of dishes. I'm sure all of us never ever cooked something called curry apart from college. I don't even know if they do that in college kitchens today. But anyways, we did that and we still know that. However, what I'm asking is, can there be a tweak in the 5-star menus that will bring us to healthy, sustainable foods on the table, which Chef Manisha was saying, yes, it is happening. How is the Oberoi looking at this? Can we ask Chef Rohit first before I come to you, Chef Bali, later on? Because we will definitely look at what OCLD says and what Rohit says in two different ways.
Yes.
And in between, we'll have Chef Amit also.
Ma'am, I request you to please repeat. I lost you in between. There was a glitch and I got logged out. Can you just repeat the question for me briefly? I got just the last bit only.
Very good. Rohit, this is really back to class.
Yeah.
Never mind. What I was just asking was the 5-star menu. How is it going to reflect the health and sustainable foods that are going to be the norm, that are going to be the future, that are definitely something that we should be promoting? We all know that. So how do you think that the Oberoi would handle this challenge?
So, I'll keep it very simple. I think in hotels, a lot of things get dictated by the customer. And the customer today is telling us what they want. And I can give umpteen examples of what life was and what life is today. If one was to start with a simple meal period like breakfast, we would be running around for things like cereals and breakfast sausages and bacon. Replenishing them would be the most, that would take up most of our time and energy 10 years ago. Today, once you put cereals, nobody eats cereals today. Nobody eats sausages. Nobody eats bacon. We put them on the buffets and there are hardly any of them that go away. Things that move are what we call real food. So, the fruits or the vegetable blends, fruits blends, these are the kind of things that are really moving. And so the menus are changing and adapting to that. You mentioned something about immunity boosting food, which everybody is probably doing today, and Oberoi Hotels is working on that. But more than that, for example, there's another project that I'm currently working on, and that is kids menu, and we were doing some research on that, and therefore what we're going to do on that. And it's all up there. What parents are asking today is that they want real food for their children. Nobody wants mashed food. Nobody wants They want real food. They want immunity boosting food for their kids. They want that is sustainable. They don't only want to give good food to their kids. The parents also want to leave behind a good earth, or whatever the way you want to look at it. So all these things definitely are translating onto our menus. The only thing I wanted to add here a little different was that, and before I lost the Zoom, we were discussing something on organic food. And my thought over here was that in real life, I really don't know, because the quantities that we deal in, how much of it is, I mean, yeah, you can get some quantities of organic, but is it really, okay, that is the word, is it really sustainable to get organic food into a hotel? And, Chef Manisha was saying, you go to a departmental store, there is one corner which very cutely has some few kgs of organic food tucked up. But when you have to order 1,500 kgs of tomatoes or 2,000 kilograms of tomatoes, where do you go and get those quantities for? So I have always been a practitioner of this, that I don't think the answer lies in organic or in heavily pesticide and whatever food. It lies in between, which is, can we get honest farm food? Can we get food which is ethically grown? It need not have an organic stamp, but it still needs to be grown in the right way, where there's nobody is injecting hormones into it. So I think to me, that is where the answer lies. Because if we were to go the organic route also, a farm that grows 100 kgs will grow 10 kgs. Can this country afford that kind of is it sustainable? In the other way, is it sustainable?
Correct.
So I think the answer is somewhere in between. But to answer your question, yes, of course, Oberoi Hotels, like all other 5-star hotels, is aligning itself to the needs of the customer. And the needs of the customer today, these were very nice, fancy words 15 years ago, 20 years ago, when we started to have something called sustainable was a nice word. Nobody knew what it meant then, but we would use all these things, or organic. But today they are mainstream words. One sees them. Things like vegan and all were we would see one guest in a month. Now you see 50% of them a day, and it's real life. It is on your face. So it would be inappropriate for any organization not to align themselves to that customer needs. 20 years ago, we would get our vegetables from Holland, and once the vegetables came onto our receiving, we were the most excited. We would go beating a whole around of it in front of the customer to say, we get our zucchini from Holland and we get our bell pepper from. Today, neither do we do it, and nor do we think our customers want to hear that. So yeah, it is about local sustainable things, and that's what we are aligning.
I think today we
Chef
get
Bali.
little embarrassed when even if we have to talk about it, unless it's required, we don't import it.
Correct.
Absolutely. When Chef
We get
Manisha
very
was
embarrassed.
discussing on another platform, we were discussing, मतलब parmesan cheese और balsamic vinegar लाना है तो ले आओ, उसके
ले
अलावा
आओ,
हमको
बाकी हाँ, नहीं चाहिए, कुछ नहीं चाहिए. We make in India.
We are happy with made in India. Absolutely.
That is exciting. Yes, that speaks a lot also for the fact that we are back to our roots, and we are looking at cuisines that take us back to our roots. No longer the sea buckthorn that came from wherever else. Believe me, when I was in college, I didn't even know this sea buckthorn. I came out of college and I came across it, and I was wondering, what in the world is this? Because I had no idea. So it's like that. That was then. Today is a different matter. Today, not only the chefs, but also, like the consumer is so very well aware. Chef Bali, in look at OCLD.
Yes.
Now we are looking at close to us, academics. Tell me, how do you think that
Yes.
as academics, you can bring this, into all our student heads? That this is the way future, this is the way forward. Let's look at this. Let us not just go back and do only white sauce. Of course, white sauce is very good. I love it. So can we hear from you, Chef? What is the winds of change in OCLD?
Okay, so if you ask me particularly on health food, I have a very different opinion, on this entire subject. And if we look at maybe 50 years ago,
Yes.
everything that we grew, our lifestyles were different. Yes, one was that, it was organic, because we country have always been organic. It is we only who got these are cultivation, we are going back to the roots and talking about organic. But I remember, if we talk about even in Punjab, Kashmir, in the villages, people hardly had money to buy insecticides and pesticides. So in real sense, all our food was organic. Then there was ghee, makhan, as a part of the Indian diet, and people consumed it. But the thing was, it was pure. And second, you would exercise. The farmers would slog in the fields, and burn all the calories. The problem today is not only the food which has become unhealthy, but it's also the lifestyles. And lifestyles, I say, with no exercise. And second, the nuclear families, who rarely have a time to sit on the table and eat. And for that, there were smart people who have come up with packaged food to say, okay, don't worry, you work 16 hours a day. When you come back home, you don't have to cook the meal. Here is the packet, pop it up in the microwave, your food is ready. And slowly, slowly, we are aping the Western culture. India has been moving to that, where there are nuclear families, no time to make food, and and we are going back to the packaged foods, which have, of course, the emulsifiers, the stabilizers, and of course, all these things may cause harm in the longer run. So I think for a student, like in OCLD, we have a little kitchen garden. And of course, it is completely organic, because we only use we have a composting machine. So all the compost comes from there. So that acts as a freezer. But we have our own kitchen garden, where we grow our own herbs, and in winters we plant all lettuce, and so basic things for the OCLD kitchen keeps coming from. So they actually get to see, okay, how this plant looks like. So that is one, being aware of the Mother Earth, to say how things are grown, how much weeks does it take for this plant actually to grow into a herb, how much water is consumed, and every day how much water would you put roughly, so how much of water is used to irrigate that field. So that way they are becoming conscious about the thing. But in terms of health, I mean, it's important to understand the ingredient, the technique, as well as the equipment. All these things go hand in hand, and they are not separate one from the other. So when we talk about health food, most of the people across in India are immediately thinking of a hospital food. They're thinking of food low in oil, low in fat, and I would call that really a hospital food. But a healthy food is a mix, it's a percentage blend of your proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. Your 55 to 60% of your calorie intake should come from carbohydrates. Your 15 to 20% should come from proteins. And then another 15 to 20% should also come from good fats. And now you have to choose between these fats, that, what are the kind of fats that you would use? Would you use more of a saturated fat? I mean, any day a margarine is more unhealthier than anything else on this world, because it's hydrogenated, and it can cause osteochlorosis by having that fat deposit in your arteries. So that's a bad thing. But on a butter in a croissant or in a puff is far better. So because your body also needs healthy fats. Your ghee is good, your mustard oil is good, and you must keep regulating the oils. Now, giving you an example of a puri bhaji, for example, in the Indian breakfast. Now, if you had a nutritional analysis software, and if you did a nutritional analysis of a portion of puri bhaji compared to an egg white omelette, served with 2 pieces of whole wheat toast, I would say the healthy components in the puri bhaji will be far aligned to the real statistics compared to the egg white omelette and the whole wheat bread. But since we look at egg whites and brown bread as a healthy thing, without any research, we think that puri bhaji is unhealthy. But where it goes unhealthy is because we all need to learn that a good puri will be only made with mota atta. When you make it that with a mota atta, and when you fry it, it doesn't absorb as much as oil as the normal atta would do. Now, if the chefs don't know that difference and they use any atta to make that puri, of course you are giving an unhealthy product maybe to the guest. If you know that it's puri bhaji, that is the right kind of a texture of atta you need to use, then you will be creating something which will actually add a health to the guest. Okay, eating in moderation, and of course, sedentary lifestyles, more of stress, and science has produced, has proved that when you're depressed, a person tends to eat more, or binge is what we call it, binge eating. A lot of chefs, when I was in operations, uh, it was a very bad habit to keep binging on the French fries kept on the counter. And I think the chefs can relate to me, everybody has done this. And then everybody has tried to tell himself, no, I'll give this up. But it suddenly becomes a habit. So, I would only say that, yes, we must go the route of organic, local. We are all game for it, yes, because we are also teaching students about food miles.
Yes.
When the food travels from one place to another, how much of miles it is traveling, how much of fuel the aircraft is burning to pick it up. So it's all, we're talking about environment and sustainability and everything. And now, it's like Carrefour and all have got blockchain concepts, artificial intelligence into food sourcing and procuring. A Carrefour markets have a blockchain concept. When you pick up the ingredient from the shelf, it can actually tell you when this ingredient was plugged in the farmhouse, how long was it on the road to that Carrefour warehouse, and how long it has been on this shelf, and now how much is the depreciated value of that. So that is where the life is moving to, and it is going to become more and more complicated. And like Rohit and Manisha said, that it's the consumers who are more educated and who are far more in sync with all these things that are happening in the world. And it is who guide us now what they want. Whether it's a keto diet and we get guests, for whom we have to curate the entire keto menu.
Correct.
For as long duration are they staying. So, a lot of things are changing in the health. A lot of there are definitely fads and fashions which keep coming and going. But I think if we just believe in understanding our ingredients, how they are reacting to heat and different kind of oil and spices, how much of cooking, or do you need to cook something? Even, do you need to even cook something to preserve their nutrition? That kind of knowledge, going local, procuring things, giving farmers their dues, talking about environment, sustainability. I think we all chefs today talk the same language.
I'm sure. That is definitely what we are also saying, that yes, the consumer dictates everything. And
Yeah.
actually, if you look at it, even in our class, we've always said, please remember, whatever you do, whatever you cook, whatever you have, whatever it may be, it has to be healthy, it has to be tasty. Two things that we always say as chefs: we have to see that our food is delicious, nutritious, healthy, tastes good,
Yeah.
and people want to eat more of it. Definitely.
Yeah.
At the same time,
But on top of that, please
yes,
exercise. I mean, I keep telling chefs, you don't have to just cycle. I mean, I do cycling, but that's crazy me. But Rohit does running. Rohit is a fantastic runner. And but anybody who can do brisk walking, climb stairs, do anything, but have a physical activity in your life, which is very
it
important.
is, especially these days when we are getting, well, what shall I say, approaching the middle-age spread. We need to see that that spread is kept a little under control.
True.
And when we look at all these, Amit, you've just started out with artisanal foods. And this is a journey that you've just embarked upon just very, very recently. So it's very nascent for you. However, tell me, what was it that is actually there behind Anya? And how are you also trying to incorporate all that is necessary in terms of taste, in terms of appearance, in terms of health into Anya? So could we hear from you, please?
Okay. So actually, this little thing was always in my head while I was, working in the kitchens. I don't know, some of you probably would know that I am a traveler as well, on two wheels. Unlike Chef Bali, I burn petrol. I'm a biker, and I've been to places on my bike, north, west, south, wherever. In fact, in Bangalore, I've done 20,000 kilometers, looking for local ingredients, looking for great restaurants. So I think this idea came up to me when I was traveling in Kinnaur Valley last year, and in fact I was in Kaza, and that's where I saw Sibakthon as well, the local Sibakthon. So I'll come back to you later on that. So
I mean, the sights, the beautiful produce, meeting with the farmers, seeing that produce being sold on the road for nothing. It implanted an idea in me that one day I want to get connected to back to farms, back to farmers, and bring back this beautiful produce on the table and see whatever best way I can do that. So that was a nascent thought. And this farm to fork kind of concept I started working on when I was in Oberoi, Bangalore. And in fact, before that in Ireland, my stint for nearly 5 years. So it actually journey started from Ireland, where all of us chefs, we would make sure that we know the farmers, we know the growers, we know the place where the meat comes, and we proudly put the name of the farmer on the menu, that the so and so dish is made with the vegetable which comes from so and so farm, or my meat comes from so and so farm nearby, and we associate very well with them. So there is no middleman. So that's the culture which I brought with me from Ireland. And coming back to Anya's, this COVID gave me a good break, and I was just wondering what to do. And I realized that there's a lot of local produce which can be used. And in fact, incidentally, I was making some relishes at home and gifting it to my friends, and they loved it. And I ran out of bottles, so I just went and bought the bottles, and we just labeled it as well. So my kids actually named this project Anya, and I started bottling it for friends and family, and they said, why don't you sell it? You guys are doing a wonderful job. And that's where it started. And so then what I did was I connected back to my Kinnaur and Kalpa journey in Himachal Pradesh. So I said, why not? Now, this is not a good time to connect with the farmers over there, but why not at least get connected with the farmers whom I have been associated with while I was working for Oberoi Hotels. My last position was at Gurgaon. So I know certain people who do fruits, certain people, my friends who have these farms, orchards, they don't know what to do. They just do it for passion. They do it for their own family, but they have excess produce. So I tied up with them and I said, okay, I'll take some from you at a reasonable price, and let's do something with it. And, bottle it, pasteurize it without adding any additives, keep its nutritional value high, keep sugars low. I think Chef Bali and Rohit also briefly touched about the health point of view. So when I make these conserves, make these relishes and pickles, I make sure that I use the right ingredients. So I try to keep it natural. I don't add any additives. So obviously the shelf life is less. So I'm very proud to say that my product doesn't sit on shelf, because I make small artisan batches, and as per the requirement. And in fact, today I'm proud that I'm able to put my stuff at farmers market in Sundarnagar, organic market. So most of the stuff, most of the things which I procure are from farms. So again, coming back to farm to fork or farm to table concept, and I keep the sugar levels very low, 20%. Even in jams, preserve. In fact, the orange preserve I made yesterday, and I was in a Serenity farm, which is in close by in Delhi, Rajokri. I kept sugar levels at around 35%, which is I think and that to a organic sugar, a raw sugar. Now, if you see good brands, I will not name. If you see their labels, they would talk about pure, but still the fruit content would be around 45%. So I think it is important that we educate the younger generation. In fact, the budding chefs who are listening us right now, that we should be in a habit of reading labels. We should actually inculcate this habit into the newer generation to read labels. I think that habit is still not there. While I'm talking about product, read the contents. Something which might say local might not be sustainable, because that local thing might be industrially produced. For example, if you have a jam factory which is local, again, I will not take name. There's a jam factory. There's a label which I read yesterday on internet. It's a very well-known brand which says produced in Himachal Pradesh. But when you read the label, the manufacturer is in Mumbai. So they have completely gone, producing a small artisan batches to something which is now mass produced, and it says shelf life 2 years. So the moment you read that shelf life 2 years, it should ring a bell that there is something which is not right in that bottle. And do you want to feed that to your children? Do you want to feed that to the new generation? And answer is no. So because of all these additives, all these sugars, all these preservatives and processed food, I think the most of the chronic problems today the neo generation is facing is because of that. I think we need to get back to roots, get back to fresh vegetables, get back to fresh food, the soul food, what Chef Bali, mentioned, puri bhaji. Why not? If it is done properly, if you are mindful of what oil you're using, what flour you're using. So I think we should do that. So yeah, I mean, I'm loving it. It's been just 3 months. I've started this journey, and in fact, I've tied now. Apple is in season, so I also do mostly my fruit-based preserves and jams are seasonal fruit. So of course, apple has to come from Kinnaur, but I know which farm it's coming from. I know who's the farmer. I know him personally. We talk. Like today, I picked up an apple which has a little bit of it has traveled a distance, but I mean, I can't grow apples in Delhi. So I have to get something seasonal. But otherwise, there are other things I locally procure, like oranges, pomegranates, guavas. Karonda is such a beautiful berry. I've not seen anybody doing a karonda preserve. I've done a jam yesterday, which was karonda and orange jam. It looks as beautiful as your a red berry jam, what you would buy from the shelf, which is imported. So I think if we just are a little responsible as chefs or as parents, and there's so much around us. And Chef Manisha Bhasin also mentioned that everybody is talking about Indian food, and why not? There is so much to explore. I mean, I started my culinary journey with La Rochelle. I was also very proud of Holland vegetables, and dhania bhi bahar se aata hai. We used to do all that, but now I don't want to. I just want to explore my own regions around where I want to travel, maybe to different states, bring in the local produce, local berries. Seabakthon is something which I really want to work with, but of course there is a transportation involved in it, because it is only available at remote Kaza. At higher altitude, you have these berries, but why not? I mean, if you can bring in from your own, it is grown wild, but maybe somebody will start planting it. You will also help a farmer to give a new idea, because there will be a demand and there will be a supply chain as well. So I see from that point of view as well. But of course, we all have to be responsible. We all need to be mindful of what we are eating and how the food is coming to the table. We need to ask questions. We need to read labels. Even if we go to farmers market, not everything in farmers market would be organic, or it's important that you even in farmers market you ask questions. Where does it come from? When was it plucked? When was it grown? How many miles it traveled to come to the farmers market? So I think it's more important that we become self-aware. People are moving towards that trend, but that percentage is very, very small. I think we need to educate as chefs that we need to go in this direction, which will also improve the sustainability of the whole ecosystem, because sustainability is not only food, it's about environment, taking care of environment, and of course this will also relate to a good health for the future generation. So we have to leave good health behind, good produce behind, good environment behind. So very, very important. So what comes from the earth should go back to the earth. I think that's a very nice line which I read. I was reading an article. So this is, I think, what we all need to follow. What comes from the earth should go back to the earth. Thank you.
So lovely to hear that journey of yours, and also to look at the, what shall I say, emphasis on seeing that things are procured locally and things can be made so also, as well as, sustain the entire earth at the same time. Yes, we've been talking of food miles, we've been talking of local farmer markets, we've been talking of so many different things. And now I would like to actually now go into something that again is very close to all our hearts, Indian food. The ingredients. Yes, chef has already given us. Now my breakfast will be puri bhaji. No more cereals, no more white bread, no more brown bread. Let's go back. And I love puri bhaji anyway. So I guess that is quite something that we're going to be looking at. Sorry. So what happens when we are going to look at this in a larger way? And I'm actually saying that yes, it is good to have everything in small doses. Let's have it everything. It may be or not sustainable, but we also have to have a huger market, a much more larger market where all these can be sent and it can be available. Now, as again, going back into the kitchens, into the, what shall I say, into the roots of our own local cuisines, Chef Manisha, what do you think we would be able to do in terms of reducing these food miles, in terms of reducing this amount of time it sits on the, what shall I say, shelf? There is definitely all this. We are looking at things that are not going to have a shelf life of 2 years, definitely, because these are some things that you want to pick up fresh, pick it up, use it, and give the best. Because we all know that seasonal foods are the best to work with. Okay, so I think before I ask you this, I think Chinmay would be having a few things because he's been bursting with a lot of things in his head, listening to all of you. So Chinmay, could I ask you to come in and put in what is it that has been in your head to Chef Manisha?
So Chef Manisha, yesterday we were lucky enough to have Chef Manjeet Gill with us. So he gave us a whole deep insight into what Indian food is and how people just randomly cook Indian food with a regular Western cookware. And he also explained that to open a Chinese restaurant, you will need a Chinese wok or a Chinese range. But then when it comes to Indian food, people just use regular vessels and whatnot. But I think ITC has been a little different. And with a little bit of reading, I found that ITC has a concept called Swasthya cuisine in its hotels at ITC Grand Bharat. So could you elaborate a little more on what it is that ITC Hotels does in terms of Swasthya cuisine?
The Swasthya cuisine is, we have this program in most of our resort hotels where we have the spa that the Swasthya cuisine is available. It is cuisine which is based on your body type, whether it's kapha, pitta. So we have the Ayurvedic guides there who will help you in devising your menu, plus a basic template which will help you in choosing what you want to eat. And it not necessarily be vegetarian, don't get me wrong here. It can be non-veg as well. So we take Swasthya cuisine to another level also. We have something that we call a sleep menu, which is in all our hotels. So sleep menu would consist of ingredients which induces sleep, which is good for you before you sleep, whether it is a haldi doodh or anything. That is that's what we propagate. Coming back to, I think there was another question that Vasundhara ma'am was asking and this crossed my mind. So I think I've lost my train of thoughts right now. So yeah, coming back to Swasthya cuisine, this is available in Grand Bharat definitely and very popular because this is, today health is the new luxury. As we all know, in COVID time, we all have realized that one has to invest in health. And like Saby also said that what we eat is most important. What we eat, what you don't mind spending an extra money or extra buck. Actually, that is what I think somewhere Japanese cuisine taught us. Their ingredients was so super that when initially one started dabbling into it, one couldn't understand why sushi rice the way it is, why fish in the freshness of fish, why this kind of cut, why that. But as you dive deeper into it, you realize that there is a method in the whole system that they have evolved. And I think as an Indian, it's time for us to take pride in our ingredients. Like Amit was mentioning about karonda, that is something very unusual that I saw, that karonda and orange jam. Wow, I'm most impressed. We must connect Amit later on that. And also when Amit was talking about the label, this is something I started at home almost 10 years ago, where your kids are so impressionable. They like to buy whatever packet is available on the shelves in the market. So whenever they bought, I would let them buy a packet. I say, go back home, Google search it, see what this class 3 preservative says, and these are all hidden ingredients. You must know what you are eating. And still, if you want to eat, go ahead and eat it. So Swasthya cuisine basically stems from that. It's not that you totally abstain from what is not so Swasthya. I'm not saying so, but yes, counter it by eating healthier food, healthier options. If somebody wants to have a pizza, by all means have your pizza, but please have your dal chawal first. And still, if you have space for pizza, then please go ahead and have it. I'm not saying pizza is bad. Sometimes you must indulge. There's no food which is bad, but any food which is in excess, which has heavy load of preservative, may not be healthy for you.
Right, Chef. That made a lot of sense in terms of many restaurants and hotels now trying to incorporate this. Chef Gambhir, I just have a question for you. You spoke about organic produce or local produce being available in very small quantities, but now say in restaurants like 360 or Omia at the Oberoi, Are you now willing to use mutton that is from Bangalore or mutton that is Rajasthan, whereas compared to lamb from New Zealand? Are you willing to make that shift, and are your customers okay with it?
So this is something that I was wanting to say as well, that, we have to do things with certain common sense. I spoke about Parmesan cheese. I spoke about balsamic vinegar. There is no reason for, should we be using New Zealand lamb chop to make Rogan Josh? The answer is a big no. But if a New Zealand lamb chop in a 5-star hotel goes well with a particular dish, we have a beautiful Josper oven in 360. And if I want to give my guest or my international traveler a huge grill menu, and then I have 10 local dishes and I add two imported meats to it, I really don't think it's the end of the world. So, it can't just be a blanket thing of not doing anything. I mean, if I have to make a risotto and I need Parmesan cheese for it, I see nothing wrong with it. And if till the time, so the shift that has happened is that a lot of local cheese is being used. That shift has happened. As I said, there was imported zucchini, which is an absolute no-no. Imported bell peppers, imported carrots were coming into this hotel once upon a, or into this country once upon a time. So those things are an absolute no-no. But if there are certain things that, if a certain meat is meant to be cooked in a certain way and a certain meat is meant to be done in a different way, I see nothing wrong with it. So, we in India use normally goat. We don't use sheep. Right. A lot of us love it. But do we expect the whole world to love it? Maybe not. Somebody in Saudi Arabia may be very happy eating camel meat. Will you and I be okay doing it? No. So, is everybody going to be excited eating goat meat? Maybe not. We are. We grew up on it. We enjoy that thing. So all that is one part of it. But as I said, you can't have one thing that fits everything.
Right, Chef. Thank you so much. Chef Saby, on to you.
May I just excuse myself? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I had sent a message also. I need to exit. I have another meeting scheduled. I'm very sorry.
Not a problem, Chef. Thank you so much for being with us.
Rohit.
Thank you.
And we will always be in touch with you.
Thank you. Look forward to another session. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
Bye. Chef Saby, over to you, and I think we'll wrap up post that. A lot of your restaurants, including Big Brewery, are all influenced completely by what is available in and around the area. Do you think this is the way forward for most restaurants, given one, it costs less, and also perhaps this is what the customer wants?
Chinmay, it's interesting you already gave the answer while speaking. For me as an entrepreneur, the first thing was I had to make money out of it, so it had to cost less. I am a chef, I'm cooking at the back at the same time. I'm a chef entrepreneur. I also have to eat it. If I can't eat it myself, and if I don't enjoy eating it myself, how will I pass it on to my guests? Because I've always treated people inside the restaurant as internal guests and people who came from outside as external guests. So both are guests. If I didn't enjoy, my team didn't enjoy, my directors invested didn't enjoy, I couldn't give it to the guest. Even the thought didn't occur that I'll give and pass on something which is second grade, not tasty, not healthy, does not have the wellness attached to it, and just make money out of it. That didn't happen. That can't happen, because I'm still a chef at heart. As in, I can become an entrepreneur, pretend to become one as much as I can, as many restaurants as I want to, but I will always be a chef at heart. Once in a white jacket, you will die in a white jacket. So that's how the mentality, and that's IHM has taught. I'm very privileged to be part of this whole the what do you call, the IHM family, and now a white jacket family under the guidance of legendary chef Manjeet Singh Gill. And of course, I've all the things that we're talking now, I think ITC has always taken lead. Chef Madhu has done amazing work. Chef Manisha has done amazing work. I've always learned from them, looked up to them. So for me, if I am traveling least, my food cost will be least. That's first. If I'm traveling least, my food would be the freshest. If I'm traveling least, I don't have, as in I have to say this softly, I can't afford a cold room in most of my restaurants, right? So forget bringing carrots from Holland. I would rather grow carrots in my backyard, because if it comes from Holland, it also will, it's like this, if you have an imported breed of dog, it also needs the air condition. Whereas the local breed is very happy to stay outdoors. So my food has always been influenced by things that are locally available, and locally available where I am. So since I've opened restaurants across the country, about 45, 50 of them by now, in every different climatic conditions, every different biodiversity, also the people that have come in, they all have different, they came from different ethnic and local backgrounds, right? So the food needs, taste palettes, mouth feel, everything is very, very diverse. So I think I found it very easy to match. I didn't want to put the chili chicken formula everywhere, because then I will, hurt my pride being a chef. I can't give that up. If I could have given that up and become an entrepreneur, I would have put chili chicken formula in everything. I couldn't do it. So when I opened a restaurant in Hyderabad, I had to have other pepper chicken. And I, pleased with it. I made a pepper chicken with the way I thought I could give. I made a chef Rohit. We don't have him right now, but he would understand this what I'm saying. So I ended up doing a curd rice and andhra pepper chicken, both in my Italian restaurant menu. I didn't use any international produce, but the treatment and the presentation, what I did, I think it suddenly people realize that you don't have to do fusion. You don't have to make risotto with something Indian, or call it a risotto for the heck of calling it, like paratha, raviolis and khichdi's like that, and yet represent Indian food in a very prestigious manner in its pristine form. So hence, I have taken up this route of using local ingredients, local flavors, local palettes. It's also something I think I've taken up from Chef Gill, always hearing him. He says that sushi could be healthy for somebody in Japan, olive oil could be healthy for somebody in Italy. What I have grown up in and what my grandmother's food is healthiest for me. And that is the formula I apply for every restaurant that I've opened across this country. And it is somehow as what I would say, blessings of elders, great learnings from people like Chef Manjeet Singh Gill, Chef Koilo, my godfather, Chef DK here in Delhi, and of course Chef Saundraj, who I trained under in my MD program. I've been very lucky to have worked with such stalwarts, and internationally as I went out, I was very, very lucky to be in touch with the legendary late Chef Charlie Trotter, who I spent some time with, and then Chef Tatsuya, and all these masters, right from the day, which is 93, 94 onwards, when I've spent time outside India. I've heard them talking about the farm, heard them going to the seaside to pick up their own, seafood. So hence I applied that logic. If I am on a seaside place, I make sure my menu is, seafood heavy. If I'm in Bangalore and I have access to Banur, I make sure Banur lamb chop comes to my restaurant, and I don't try to force the seafood into my Bangalore restaurant. If I'm in Bombay, I again go to the seafood route. If I'm in Delhi, I work with the farms up north, and I try and access or represent food from there, and accordingly try and fit my cuisine. I don't know if it was an answer or it was too complex.
No, Chef, I think it was perfectly fine. Finally, on to Chef Bali. Chef, I think Chef Saby has set the platform for you. Would this be something that you would like the following OCLD graduates to follow in terms of understanding the whole place? You spoke about atta in terms of puri bhaji. Do you also want them to understand the entire Indian diaspora before they take a call as a chef in terms of make a menu?
Yeah, I think it's very important. And I think 2 years at OCLD is quite stressful for the students, because they have to do so much of research and development, because that is the only time they can make mistakes and learn from them. And before I think they go on to become chefs, where they'll make decision on their menus, it is important that they use OCLD as a laboratory, food laboratory, to experiment and to come up with things. So yes, I mean, we keep in this our curriculum as well, a lot of stress on research and development, and now going local, trying to find out the lost ingredients, and just so many things. So yeah, that's always as the thing for us at the center.
Right, Chef. Thank you so much. I think the time has come for me to just wrap up the whole session with a brief synopsis of whatever just happened. I'll start with Chef Manisha, who spoke about carbon footprints and the difference between food without pesticides and food without fertilizers. These are no more just buzzwords, but are in practice today. ITC has been leading the charge in terms of closing the gap between consumer and hotels. Coming to Chef Bali, he said understanding of food in general. So he spoke about puri bhaji being almost as healthy as egg whites and brown toast. All you need to know is about using the right flour, using the right vegetables, and you should be fine. Chef Rohit, the guest who is now dictating the food and the menu at the hotels. Fruit and vegetable, yes, while it's nice to have something organic, it is not possible in large quantities. So perhaps there is some space for our farmers to now meet the demand levels of hotels. Chef Amit said that understanding the farmer and also traveling the country and understanding what the whole place has to offer is something important, because he is now making preserves with some exotic ingredients or so-called exotic ingredients that we don't know about. He spoke about sibakton and the Bengal berry. Chef Saby, as usual, spoke about cutting out the middleman and getting the produce themselves. So this would definitely work on an entrepreneurial level. Direct connect in terms of vegetables and meat from Coorg, Mysore, Madikeri, etc. And the entrepreneur is more flexible in terms of menu because he can cook whatever is available. And the shift from just organic has now moved on to a larger diaspora, right from sourcing and how it's grown and what it is. It's not just organic anymore. I think that concludes the session. I would like to invite Sandeep Bose to give us a formal vote of thanks before we end the session. Thank you. Over to you, Sandeep.
Thank you so much, Chinmay. With an immense amount of participation, this event was an absolute success and hope the chefs enjoyed it as much as we all did. Now that we have come to the end of this most spectacular and insightful webinar, we would all like to thank each one of you for being with us today. All of you are indeed one of the most eminent figures in the culinary industry and have given us the brand that we call as the modern day foods and still reminisce the original vintage value of our Indian roots. Thank you for teaching us, teaching each one of us something absolutely new for each one of us to discuss in culinary conversations. And from the entire Gourmet Marshals family, alongside with the IHM Bangalore family, we would like each one of you personally once again. From reading your books and reading articles about all of you, it was an absolute dream come true for many of by seeing all of you in person. Happy International Chef's Day to every one of you.
Wish you all the same.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Happy International Chef's Day. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
very
Thank
much.
you. Wish you
Thank
all.
you, chefs.
Bye bye.
Thank you, chefs.
Thank you.